Hey guys, had to share my tool haul. Had a really good week at the garage sales and wanted to show you how easy it is. You can really, if you're into the vintage tools and kind of the old school woodworking and kind of that old school, mentality, you can find a lot of awesome tools for really, really super cheap. And you can just do a lot. You can do so much with these things, especially if you're on a budget, but you want to get into, woodworking or homesteading and you just don't have the money to get going. Garage sales are one of the best ways to get yourself going. And I found some really, really awesome. So I'm really excited about some of this stuff here. First of all, the greatest thing I think I found is this old hidden gear Stanley drill. It's a Stanley 611. The gears are hidden away behind this big, I'm assuming cast aluminum shell here, but really nice, really smooth. Just awesome little thing. This has got the bigger, I think, 3/8 chuck to it. They make another one, I think, with a 1/4-inch chuck. And it's the, let's see if we can see this, the 100 Plus series by Stanley, which only made these for 3 years. Granted, no one really cares about these. They're not really collectible or valuable, but this is kind of a tough to come by little thing here. This is something that they really only made for a couple of years and was like a special release thing. I think it's really neat and it's in terrific shape. It really doesn't even need to be restored. The thing's looks like brand new almost. I mean, maybe a little rust to be taken off, but how cool is that? What did I pay? $10. That's the most I paid for any tool here. And I only did it because I absolutely love this thing. I think I've never seen one like it. I've never seen another Stanley 611 or 610, and just kind of had to have it. Just thought it was great. So once again, that's something you can use. Very handy homestead tool. You know what? It's going out. If your cordless drill shits the bed, this is your cordless drill. These things work really good. They make really nice clean holes. Yeah, they're work. You actually got to exert yourself. You got to stop playing video games for a minute and actually do something. But man, these things are quite handy when you're trying to do something away from the house and your battery dies, or you forgot your cordless drill. These things are, you forgot to charge it. These things are absolutely invaluable. Next, this big old draw knife. Did not pay much for it all. A couple of bucks. Got a broken handle, which is why I paid so little for it. We're going to repair that. That should probably take a little work because I'm going to have to get a handle, carve it, and then I'm going to have to take the handles off, reshape the tangs, and then kind of peen them back on. So that's going to be a little bit of work, but it's a really cool draw knife. It's got a really good angle to it. You can see how the handles on the blade are at a very different angle. And it's a nice, I think it's a 10-inch blade, so I just had to have it. A couple of bucks. People were surprised I even want it with a broken handle, but it's like, these draw knives get pretty expensive in antique shops, so as soon as picking up a broken one and fixing a handle is the way to go. Stanley number 51. One of the most common and useful spoke shaves you can get. The person selling it didn't realize it was a Stanley, but I know that the Stanley 51s, nobody else used that 51, especially back in this time period. And plus, under the rust on the blade it says Stanley, but the person wouldn't know because they had the blade in backwards. Very common with these spoke shaves when you look at them. When you look at the blade, flip the blade around, because 9 times out of 10 people put the blades in backwards because these are beveled down and people don't realize that, so they tend to put them bevel up and you can't see the Stanley marking on it. So this one here I got for $5. The lady was completely, she's like, oh, it's not a Stanley, it's not a Stanley, I'll take $5 for it. I'm like, sure, these things are really, tend to go more for like 10, 15 bucks. And she's like, no, it's not a Stanley, it's just some cheap no-name. Okay, look at that. The Japanning is terrific. It's in terrific shape. The blade's got a little bit of surface rust on it. This thing's perfect. The sole, really nice and flat. This thing's going to make a fantastic user. And all because the woman was just too kind of proud to accept that she didn't really know anything about it, which is kind of cool. Those little spoke shapes, guys, those are a lot of fun. If you're doing any kind of woodworking, those are a lot easier than pulling out the router, plugging it in, trying to set everything up. Man, those things are really good. Really nice precision tool if you take the time to sharpen the blade. Found myself 2 really nice old proto professional ratchets. I think I paid $5 a piece for them. See, they're the professional line. $5 a piece. Why? Because they were all gunked up and the selectors weren't turning. As usual, took it apart, cleaned it out with some brake cleaner. Works like new. These things, you know, that grease tends to harden up over time, and people think they're broken, and you can get these for super cheap. I think $5 for the one, maybe $3 for the other, if I remember right. I can't remember. I mean, it's just so many nice deals. Same thing with this one. It was all gunked up. Another fantastic find. 5 Nicholson USA brand files. Nicholson no longer makes their files in the USA. They're now made in Mexico. I grab every Nicholson USA file I can get. It's still in good working order. And these are all mill files. So I grab these things got them for $1 a piece. I will buy that all day long. And I will buy a lifetime supply of these things, because you know what? There is nobody making files in the USA anymore. The quality of files has just gone to garbage. The Nicholson stuff, yeah, the made in Mexico is not the worst out there, but my God, you know, these things, if you use these old Nicholson USA files, they are fantastic. They are just amazing. You see them at garage sales, snag them. People will give them away 50 cents, $1. Sometimes people just give them to you, literally, because they're like, what, you want an old dirty file? You know what, as long as they still cut, you know, as long as, I mean, these aren't in bad shape either, guys. You can see these have very little use to them. You know, they're a little loaded up. You can tell nobody's cleaned them with a file card, but you can hear it. Yeah, you guys like that, don't you? Pervs. The teeth are still very good on this. Very good teeth on these still. They're all very good shape. Seen very little use. Here's an old Nicholson triangle file. This is something you'd use like on a chainsaw. This one's rusty, but you know what? Clean it up with a file card. It'll work. These are pretty expensive when you buy these. These can be $8, $9, $10. Cost me $1. And that will get used eventually on the chainsaw. Pick these up. Next to nothing. Lady didn't even know what they were. No clue. Had no clue. So I told her what they were. I said they're a saw set. And she was like, And I'm like, these are for setting the teeth on hand saws. Oh. So she's like, what do you want for them? She's like, I just want to get rid of them. I'm like, well, you know, these are Stanleys. These are both Stanleys. They're actually the same one, probably just built years apart, so there's some slight differences in them. I think this one's missing the end cap as well, but they're pretty much, you know, you can see they're pretty much the same exact thing. This one's cast with Stanley. This one doesn't have Stanley on it, but it's I forgot where it's cast. Somewhere it's cast with the, I think in here, yeah, in here it's cast Stanley. So I told her, I'm like, they're Stanleys. People love Stanleys. And she's like, I don't care. I will never use them. I don't know anyone who will use them. If you know what they are and you can enjoy them, give me like $1 a piece for them. Sold. Saw sets are really cool, guys. These are another thing. If you see them, grab them. Because you know what? Even if you're not into restoring old saws, chances are you're going to run into someone who does. Or you can pass these along. Even on eBay, guys. You know what? I know it sounds crazy, but things like this are not extraordinarily common these days. You don't see them. To buy a new one of these is probably going to cost you $30-$40. But you know what? If you find something like this and someone's willing to sell it for $1, and you put this up on eBay and you pass it along to someone else, who's actually going to use it, that's a win, man. That's a win. If you know someone else who's into old tools and you pass it along to them for that $1, it's a win. There's a lot of times, guys, like me, I can't go to every yard sale. I can't go to every garage sale. I can't afford to do this all the time. I'd be broke if I did this all day. But you know what? It's the same thing, though. For me, I've got 2 of these now. I only need 1. So down the line, if someone comes around who's, you know, maybe they're refurbishing some saws or whatever, I might give them one of these. Same thing. You know, I've got, I think, 4 or 5 of these Stanley 51 spoke shaves. If I know someone who's getting into woodworking, I might just give them that. You know, or sell it to them for a couple of dollars, you know, $4 or $5, just to pass it along so that people can enjoy it. And when you're out there and you're out and about and you're doing garage sales and you're looking for gear and all that, when you see these things, remember that there's people out there who love these things and use them. You know, I use the drawknives. I use spoke shaves. I use the ratchets. I even use these drills, push drills. I love them. I tend to use them more than my cordless. The files. I use files non-stop, guys. This is, you know, I'm always restoring axes and restoring tools. Files are a great important tool on a homestead. You know, things like that. People want them, people need them. Grab them while you can, especially if people are giving them away, throwing them away. Grab them and pass them along and help other people out, you know. I hate to see it. So many times I go to garage sales and, like, you know, with this lady had no clue what these were. No clue. And they sell on eBay. Something like this would probably be like $10 on eBay. Not super expensive, but, you know, for people who don't have a lot, $10 is a lot of money. And odds are, if I hadn't have bought those, she would have thrown them away. And I know, you know, there's always someone who leaves a comment like, oh, you're just a hoarder or whatever, man. It's like, no, it's not being a hoarder. It's recognizing that value in tools. And there are people out there who buy quality tools still. There are people out there, maybe they're not restoring old tools, but there are people out there who are spending $100 on a handsaw. They're buying the good American-made, you know, like the Veritas or the Livielli tools. And they're maintaining them and using them properly. Those people who are into fine woodworking, who this is very valuable to them. So it's not just a matter of saying, oh geez, you're a hoarder, you grab anything. It's finding these things that you know people value, that you know people use, and being able to pass them along, which I really enjoy, guys. I really enjoy when, you know, you find new people and you meet people who are getting into woodworking and who want to start new things, is to have these couple extra little things here and there. And you know what? These tools, guys, they don't take up a lot of space. I literally have maybe 2 or 3 bins in my garage that are full of these kind of tools. They don't take up a ton of space. Clean them up, you know, coat them with some Vaseline so they don't rust. Put them in a bin, you know. Maybe down the line, you run into someone who likes them, you can help a person out. You know, it's part of the experience, guys. Helping each other out and learning and all that kind of stuff. And I like that thrill of the hunt, finding new tools, finding new things, cleaning them up, putting them to use, you know, making projects out of them. I love that stuff, guys. So there it is. This week's tool haul. Nice stuff, you know, for really cheap. Yeah, it's like $40 worth of stuff here, but in the end, it's worth it when you're able to use this stuff and make something out of it. So